Charlie! Operation Kill Commercial Rap. What? Operation Kill Commercial Rap. Operation Kill Commercial Rap. What? I broke out my dungeon, I'm known for ill hunting. Charlie Fire Marshal Bill, let me show you something. Sounds fit for the trap, I'm sick of this crap. It's time for another Operation Kill Commercial Rap. And who better than me? Simon Phoenix, whole cheese. Since the last operation, summer got cozy. But I'm back to spit fire, get the place toasting. I should let this one off on the internet for free. Kill commercial rap, I can't listen to the radio. If I make a mistake and listen, I'm like, what they playing, bro? The industry had to reinvent its ways. Unsigned artists making bills pay. Charlie! Operation Kill Commercial Rap. What? Operation Kill Commercial Rap. Operation Kill Commercial Rap. What? I broke out my dungeon, I'm known for ill hunting. Charlie Fire Marshal Bill, let me show you something. Sounds fit for the trap, I'm sick of this crap. It's time for another Operation Kill Commercial Rap. And who better than me? Simon Phoenix, whole cheese. Since the last operation, summer got cozy. But I'm back to spit fire, get the place toasting. I should let this one off on the internet for free. Kill commercial rap, I can't listen to the radio. If I make a mistake and listen, I'm like, what they playing, bro? The industry had to reinvent its ways. Unsigned artists making more money than labels pay. I call commercial raps death from back in the day. The system try to stifle any growth so it'll never stay. And the internet almost collapsed record sales. Where's the records being pressed? Another sector failed. Your old plans now coming back to haunt you. I'm reporting Babylon's fall. Join if you want to. This is Operation Kill Commercial Rap Part 2. Leave a partner's head you can march a million men through. Not sure what to call it, but it's a new era. To those in the game more than 15 years, you know better. Put out some lyrical substance and get this shit together. Kill commercial rap and prepare for some worse weather. And we don't need more stormy days ahead. Time's already dread. No ending of cops shooting innocent people dead. Even in Cowtown, feds cover for feds. And if you look close, you can see feds peddling meds. In this operation, kill commercial rap at your head. Who's the shooter for war? We all know he's genetically bred. I'm on the front line for his people, he's constantly bled. When the monster's on the loose, you can't go back to your bed. So I have to kill him. Dismember him on the altar. God told me to do it. From his plans, I wouldn't falter. Burn his wicked heart and his hands cause they're idle. With the monster out, we're gambling with our survival. Then tell him I'm coming, chop his head up on a rifle. And I'll be back for any monster who wants to rival. IHF.
Still the ill hunting federales. Lincoln bringing it back like black buffalinos and valleys. Erase rap dark ages. Watch rappers scatter, bro. Ancestors got youths and Ewings and step cameos. Everything's 360, most times 720, less Tims, and following 7 sins deadly. IHF spit venom, poisonous and venom. Home with skinny jeans, if they're not rocking the baggy denim. Locks got them juicing, dead press got them healthy. Walking past the smelly deli, alkanite with veggies. No need to kill commercial rap, it killed itself. Digitized music got CDs obsolete on the shelf. No need to kill commercial rap, it killed itself. This number still in case it didn't kill itself. Pump still biting, ghost writing like frauds. Posing with cruising videos of transvestite broads. Commercial rap gets gun clap like Dodge Strang and Phil. Still burying songboy shoulders in the trunk still. Come clean video a rapper or be down a pump. With IHF boost the dugout, we smelling like skunk. Genetically bred, take your favorite rap rapper's head. Hench, IHF Charlie, rush your head. Kill commercial rap, the worst will. Catch a red touch, feds just with the devilish sins in the music. Call my man with the head of pins and watching music. They live shades, upgrade. We seeing you demons. When I hold horns and try to touch chips, feel squeezing. When I say demons, I mean the rappers I love to hate. We kill commercial rap like mincemeat on your plate.
Been a minute now, but I'm back on my bullshit. Summer 16, I'm packing a full clip. Dump down the shit for these simpleton bitches. And I've been rep the 6s, 4-1 was in it. Operation kill everything. I don't give a fuck, murder anything. Even tell your bitch run up. What up? Say something if you want something. The only time these niggas hard is when they press buttons. I wish a nigga would. These niggas wish I wasn't. Never soft. I'm separate from a better cloth. Echelon upper. Eat your food I'm in your bed after supper. Have your wife with your way. Smut up your lover, but it's whatever. Let's get back to this operation. Murder's my first name, killing is my occupation. And I'm elated when I get work. These niggas been waiting to get murked. And I ain't gon' kill him quick, we gon' leg him first. And then ask him now, right, or dead him first. It's over with, send another soldier quick. To put another body in the henchman, I solve it, solve it. Yeah. IHF.
My Rex, what talk about me, Lord L, Brother L, Broadcast L, Apocalypse Now, yeah. Temple of America, real. This is we, the GCP, inspired me for real. Yeah. Tick, 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 booyah. With this grit, get flipped straight to no more crawling, no more true Who was the amnesty of A? Now me, I'm mine. God of the chest, I'm Lord of the mind. That our government stand with the spider, 100 men at the front line, stand 90 degrees. No fear for machine, man is supreme. We come again, put you on your knees. Now I recommend that big reveal. Don't die at the end, cause we got no beginning but the moment. She not from here, baby. Set the moon on the tomb of the sun. How about all of the above? Tick, 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 booyah. Time for me, booyah. Yeah, I descend from a prodigy to other me's, cause of them never gotta be solidly. Now I represent right, moving left. Yeah, fool everybody but the Moors who be made you. Son, I'm a star too, forward of the L, right? Length with height. Home is the base, reach safe, bring your light. Runway the night, June circle the 7. Don't know, better start soon. Can't keep it real when your life in the cartoon. Everything came free, but nigga, it'll cost you. Get with your nation and stay stateless. 14th Amendment, pointless to argue. Time ticks down, getting this cheated. Fully mistreated, no steady, just reading. Not grown, just leaving what's on with up room. Wake up. Tick, tick, booyah. With this brick, get blitzed straight booyah. No more crawling, no more amnesty of age.
Backing up frauds with cards, national. In Northwest, some Ottawa's not my capital. Fence like a Merlin hat, I stay magical. Stand on your birthright square, they label you radical. Flow like libations, every day it's sabbatical. I law and master science, mathematical. It's tragical, dramatical. This Moorish Othello, I rather black on black, I don't do black and yellow. Compass and square pair trap, Masonic fellows and matrons. Slew them not just sodomites and pagans. Most maroons need to stop saying Jamaican and calling Euros American. They are Caucasian.
Me, I'm a 9. Try to make a 7 here. Try to make a heaven here. Living in the devil's lair. Freedom is a method clear. Color is a spectrum. If you be spared, color mine is a bridge program over there. In the spell with the magi. Medium. Playing good, but they really the bad guys. Feeling them, I'm reeling them. Cause I'm Moorish American. This is our land. And that's why we inherited. Tick, tick, booyah. With this brick, get flipped straight to no more pros, no more suitors. Who up? Yo. Yeah, it's me, Mr. L, Mr. Bro, Lord, Raw, down out. Yeah, Apocalypse Now. Watch the time tick, tick. Then tick, booyah. Booyah.
Fantasy, I'm living in reality.
If fantasy, I'm living in reality.
Fantasy, I'm living in reality.
If fantasy, I'm living in reality.
Fantasy, I'm living in reality.
My reality. My reality. My reality includes no illusion. Facts to an eagle's head gives a contusion. Looking from the marvelous light and no confusion. As you in a fantasy thinking war's a losing. Even though Princess Michael wears Moorish brooches, not told you what the problem is. Niggas are roaches, still thinking like the colonists and lacking competence. If he didn't diss the birthright, a black psychologist wouldn't be getting put through the ringer over a license. If you don't do anything else, be a Moorish priceless. So don't get played buying Moorish papers and cards without first studying. Be a man vanguard. Wake up, stop taking credit from your master's cards. They in debt. I bet the lower self you a bet, higher self you abandon. Left notwithstanding, you keep constricting and keep not expanding. Still caught up in debates with the back and forth who you know are still liars, not speaking the truth. Pay for dirty Morse classes, won't study with us. That's blood and shark waters, good luck. You won, me scorned for strangling feelings, maiming emotions. Reality check, see demons, salivating, tasting your aura, lust in your passions. Go in meditations, body does devilish actions. Get back to your body, people watching you funny. Wearing skinny jeans with rips grown crisscross dummy and stiff a little more tooth. They sell you out claiming professor. Index you on a list for the oppressor. But you are an heir, true successor. Drew Ali's fought Muhammad's predecessor. Turban with the sun, this and out of feather. High treasonous from the gallows hand together. Silent cowards down to their roots, with no courage or strength to stand for the truth. Challenge corruption, volcanic eruption from youth. Awaken memory banks, reconnecting with youth. Not terrified of the birthright. Not terrified of the birthright. Not terrified of the birthright. Know thyself, thoughts, scare and hurt, fright.
Fantasy, I'm living in reality. If fantasy, I'm living in reality. Fantasy, I'm living in reality. If fantasy, I'm living in reality. Fantasy, I'm living in reality. If fantasy, I'm living in reality. Fantasy, I'm living in reality. If fantasy, I'm living in reality. Fantasy, 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 if fantasy, I'm living in reality. Yeah. If fantasy, I'm living in reality. If fantasy, I'm living in reality.
Islam Moors. Peace and love to all, wherever you're at. Of course, we rise and give honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who told the Moors, you are a nation. You are a nation. So Islam to all the Moors who know that they're a nation. They know that supersedes everything. The fact that we're a nation and we have a nationality. Peace and love to all the Moors worldwide. We're going to start today with From Black Muslims to Muslims, the transition from separatism to Islam by Clifton E. Marsh. So again, everybody's told our people, we'll keep letting them know until they realize what's up. Stop playing. Chapter 3. The Moorish Science Temple. It's a quote from Imam Wallace D. Muhammad, Chief Minister, World Community of Al-Islam in the West. Fard Muhammad studied Noble Drew Ali's approach to introduce the Quran to the black community. Professor Fard introduced the whole text of the Quran in the very inception of the Nation of Islam. To introduce it, he had to put it in the package of Drew Ali. Fard Muhammad studied Noble Drew Ali's approach to introduce the Quran to the black community. The Quran of Mecca. The Quran from the East. Because that's what Elijah Muhammad was holding when he had his fez on, if you check the picture. So they got rid of the Circle 7. And introduced the Quran to the black community. They didn't introduce nationality to them. Came and brought them right back into what Noble Drew Ali took them out of. Remember, this is Imam Wallace D. Muhammad speaking. Fard Muhammad studied Noble Drew Ali's approach to introduce the Quran to the black community. Professor Fard introduced the whole text of the Quran in the very inception of the Nation of Islam, which is 1930, which is right after Noble Drew Ali transition. And the reason why he didn't give them the Circle 7, because he sold out. It's real simple. How we know he sell out? Because Nation of Islam, which started as Temple of Islam, was telling people that they're black. When the man who was telling them that just came from studying with Noble, did you hear what he just said? Fard Muhammad studied Noble Drew Ali's approach to introduce the Quran, not to introduce Islam, to introduce the Quran to the black community. Why would he introduce the Quran to the black community? Why? If you just came out of Moorish Science Temple of America as the head of a temple, how is it that you're telling people Quran of the East is the Quran? Unless you sold out. Social conditions after the Depression left Americans in general and the African American community in particular in a state of disorganization, high unemployment, low wages, discrimination in housing, and the treatment of black servicemen received after World War I created discontent among African Americans. These social and economic factors made it conducive for a black nationalist movement to emerge as a vehicle for social reform. So the black nationalist movement is supposed to be a vehicle of social reform. Why would you have to be reformed? Because obviously you're out of form. And you have to check yourself. Forget checking somebody. Check yourself. How straight's your stuff? Now this is truth right now. Why is what, Al Trevino? Because remember, don't debate Moors. Go talk to Clifton E. Marsh if you know you got some issues with something. People staying or whatever. Because trust me, Clifton E. Marsh knows something. You putting this out. If he can find out, then everybody could find out. All the people who are part of that could find out. So either they don't study, which is why they don't know, or they would just want to be played. The Nation of Islam evolved from the Moorish Science Organization, founded by Timothy Drew, who was born in North Carolina in 1886. Drew was a semi-literate migrant to New York, New Jersey, who worked as a train expressman before starting the first Moorish Science Temple there in 1913, which we know is Old Canaanite Temple. But then if you start talking about the Old Canaanite Temple, then that opens up a whole other stuff that people don't want to deal with. Who the hell was he studying from, finding about some Old Canaanite Temple in Newark, New Jersey in 1913? And keep listening, Brother Dickens. You're gonna get it from the Prophet himself. How do you go about nationalizing and all that stuff? You stay right here. You just get your pen. So we know it was Old Canaanite Temple in 1913. Moorish Science Temple of America didn't come till way later. Drew came upon two revelations which radically influenced his thinking. He encountered some forms of Oriental philosophy and was impressed with its racial Catholicity. According to the legend of the movement, Timothy Drew made a pilgrimage to North Africa, where he received a commission from the King of Morocco to teach Islam to the Negroes in the United States. Drew had to pass a test to prove that he was a prophet of Allah. The test involved the pyramids of Egypt, in which Drew was allegedly released inside and had to find his way out. Drew Ali mastered the pyramids, and then he was the prophet. He came back to the temple in New Jersey in 1913. Timothy Drew changed his name to Noble Drew Ali and began to spread his doctrine in basements, empty lots, and street corners of Newark, New Jersey. Noble Drew Ali had very little formal education, but a certain magnetic charm, a sincerity of purpose, and a real determination to lead his people out of the difficulties of racial prejudice and discrimination brought him followers. Again, Drew Ali had very little formal education, but a certain magnetic charm, sincerity of purpose, and a real determination to lead his people out of the difficulties of racial prejudice and discrimination brought him followers. Remember, we're talking about 1913 to 1929. Nationality. Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association and Drew Ali's Moorish Science Temple of America flourished about the same time. Though Garvey had many more followers than Ali, Garvey started the UNIA in Jamaica in 1914 and founded a branch in Harlem in 1916. Members of the Moorish Science Temple of America believed that Marcus Garvey was a forerunner to plant the seed in the people and prepare them to be received by noble Juali. Unlike Garvey, however, Juali did not call for emigration to Africa. Juali's nationalism was purely psychological. Right? You hear that? Brother Dickens? Nationalism was psychological. Why? Because that's the first step to really being what your ancient foremothers and forefathers were, is having knowledge. Have to have the knowledge to back up the action. Somebody who doesn't know how to play chess is going to go get their ass beat when they sit at a chess table. It's not rocket science. But it starts with your mind first being right. Because you find out that man is actually mind, not the physical body. And then with regard to King of Morocco, just go ask Google. That's why we tell people stop playing like you can learn something off of this stuff. You're here, you take notes, and then you go study. You're not learning anything from here. This is just to give people reference points so they could go out and go. If you think you sat here for 2 hours and you learned 2 hours worth of whatever, tripping. That's Negro black colored stuff. People who go to lectures and go clap, don't take notes. That's what that's about. That's not what this is. This is, you're going to save yourself. We're not some priests here that have some type of higher knowledge than thou, and you're at our feet like this. Is the priesthood is dead. Yeah, Grand Sheik, and I'll put it on a paper and all that stuff, but it's your brother, man. And all those Moors in the chat are just your brothers and sisters, and we just know that we're Moors. And we don't play that stuff that you see going on out there. You can't talk to them because, oh, he said, and she has a turban that's slided, the triangles on over her ear, so you can't talk to her because Juali said don't do it like that. Stop the BS. We're Moors. We're a nation. And as Moors, we're supposed to get all those other people who think that there's something else and put them on that, hey, you know, you're not that BS that you're talking about. You're actually part of a nation. Some will hear, some won't hear. Doesn't matter. It's all about just planting some seeds, which again goes back to reference points so that you can go study and you be the tree. We're not the tree over here. And you're under us picking the stuff and all that stuff. No, we're here to teach you how to be a tree. Grow your own fruit. You don't need our fruit, our tree. You grow your fruit. You have better fruit than we got. Then maybe we could start, you know, give me some of our fruit, give me some of yours, and then we could do something. But nah. Everybody wants to get away from what this is really about. That nationalism is psychological. If you really inner and understand nationality, you know that it's not about papers, cards, nationality cards, and all that stuff. It's not about that. That's going to do with that. It has to do with, do you honor your foremothers and forefathers? Do you know your culture? Are you absent-minded of your culture? Or you better find it ASAP because everybody else around you has some type of culture. And the only people who are playing are the Negro black colored people who don't want to be anything else but fictions. Which again, that's a mindset. That's psychological. For you to call yourself an adjective when you're a noun, somebody runs some sight game on you. You under some serious brainwash. If you think you're a living entity, but you're going to be identified as an adjective. And then going with that, like it's a legitimate position in the world. But once we do what Noble Drew Ali ordered us to do. Right? If we do what Noble Drew Ali ordered us to do, which was, if you don't do anything else, proclaim your nationality. You better declare something. Because when you go check that Christian last name that you're going to go to some court for them to take the Christian last name away or whatever, you realize that all those names go back to Moors. Because like we showed on the thing last night with Dr. Blair, giving us the reference point of Queen Europa, who Europe is named after. So don't think European last names and then think like a Negro, like, oh, European last name. So that slave master gave me the name, and then, oh no, you go check some of that stuff, you realize that that goes back to Moors. And these people jack their stuff. And yeah, and all these sellout leaders, like who we're talking about in these books right here, all these sellouts who know that you're Moors, sold you out and had you for generation upon generation upon generation thinking that we're some fiction, thinking that we're from some type of different jurisdiction than where we're at right now. Remember, psychological. Noble Drew Ali and his followers sought a psychic escape by changing their names and the symbols of their culture. Now, we who study say correct opposed to change, because change implies what you're talking about, Brother Dickens, going to some court for some European to do that. That's a change. We don't change, we correct. Because it's an error why we have a Christian name. It's not that, you know, we accepted that. You know, somebody made an error on some paper somewhere. They made an error. They're calling me some Christian name. I don't know what's going on. I know that I'm not no Christian name. Something's wrong here. So, for the record, because international law is enforcing the right to a nationality, and Noble Drew Ali said, proclaim your nationality. Well, yeah, and why not? What the Prophet said. Affix El or Bay and get used to calling yourself that, like the Moor said in the chat. A psychic escape by correcting their names and the symbols of their culture. They hope to change their social fortunes. Drew Ali advocated that true emancipation would come through knowledge of Black Americans' African heritage and by becoming Muslims. Now, you know that in telling the story of Noble Drew Ali beginnings, that you know we're talking about some Muslims. We deal with Muslims. And again, if we're seeking a psychic escape, then that's not some religious whatever. If we're talking psychic, we're not religious. But this is how they play themselves because, you know, everybody knows blacks don't read. Well, Moors read. Moors read. So the folly that people put out, try to make this thing that this is some religious, Islamic, whatever, is completely off. I would say he's lying. Just say misinformed. Because you could look up Noble Drew Ali's work and see that he didn't talk Muslims. He talked Muslim, which is a big difference. Very big difference. He also felt that Christianity was for Europeans and Islam was for people of African descent. Right? And then that's a big difference. There's a big difference between African slave and African descent. One of them is what you are. We got African descent. Whether we say over here is Africa, whether we say over there is Africa, and then at one time the landmass was connected, so both of these places were Africa at one time, we're of African descent. We have to make stuff confusing and start talking about all these different countries there and all that stuff. Let's just say all that big thing there is one country. Okay, we're from there. If we're not from there, our ancient forefathers are from there. They might not have had to cross an Atlantic Ocean. But, you know, we know that African descent is in line with what was being taught. Peace on earth was not possible, according to Ali, until each racial group had its own true religion. Right? Each racial group having their own true religion so that there could be peace on earth. Yes, because that's the Moorish mindset, because under the Moorish rule, everybody lived under the Moorish rule, regardless of their religion. That's why when you read articles about the Moorish Empire, and these people claiming they're kicking Moors out of Spain and all this, that they'll tell you, Europe felt the shit after they kicked the Moors out. You thought stuff was bad before the Moors came there? Europe was nothing when they so-called kicked the Moors out. But peace on earth is possible if everyone goes back to their true religion, which would mean that they would have to go back to their true customs, their true way of life, and stop chasing mere ideals of man and calling it ideology. Playing with people. Noble Drew Ali advocated that individuals must know themselves and their nationality before they can know Allah or God or Yahweh or whatever. You better know yourself. Don't tell me about you know yourself. And when we ask the question, what's your nationality? You're talking about adjectives and continents and things that people are not. Because again, hypothetically speaking, let's just say Nation of Islam didn't change up the stuff and they kept with the program. Let's just say they didn't change up stuff. And they kept doing what it is that was taught to them to do, being that they're Moors. Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple upon the idea that African Americans are Asiatics, specifically Moors, whose ancestors had come from Morocco. Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Drew Ali also taught his members to believe that when a star and crescent moon were seen in the sky, this beckoned the arrival of the day of the Asiatics and the destruction of the Europeans. How many times have we seen crescent and stars in the sky? And then that's how many times we dropped the ball. Because this stuff's supposed to be done already. If this man came 1913. Oh yeah, but there was a sellout. And these sellouts took the position of keeping the people dumb, keeping the people absent-minded of who they really are, but claiming that they're teaching the people to know themselves, lying to them, straight lying. Noble Drew Ali's doctrine inspired Fard Muhammad to create similar value systems for the Nation of Islam. During an interview with Imam Wallace D. Muhammad, he explained how Fard Muhammad taught members of the Nation of Islam that we were black Asiatics, and that's what Drew Ali taught his people. Drew Ali didn't teach that we're black anything. Drew Ali said that we're not black. If Drew Ali said that we're not black, and then somebody else after Noble Drew Ali is telling you that you're black, yeah, that's clearly somebody committing treason. Fard taught us we were descendants from a great Islamic kingdom, and Drew Ali taught his people the same. Drew Ali taught that people of African descent were subjugated to white domination because they used the names like colored, black, or Ethiopian Americans with a new national origin that made them part of a far-flung Moorish nation that had somehow made its way to North America. So it somehow made its way to North America, this quote-unquote far-flung Moorish nation. That's how far-flung it was flung. It was flung all the way over here. Over here is not far-flung from history that we don't know about it. It's far-flung all the way from on that side of the Atlantic all the way to this side. Is where I'm looking at far-flung. Because we know that this is the farthest west, Morocco, over here. Noble Drew Ali's philosophy was published in his 64-page Holy Quran, a pamphlet consisting of principles from the Islamic Quran, the Christian Bible, some of Marcus Garvey's African nationalist ideas and Juali's own historical interpretations. The Holy Quran is regarded as the book to be read only by his followers. Only by his followers? Now, if a prophet is gonna tell people, hey, people, you can be greater than I can be, then he's telling them, don't follow me. So don't get caught up in this thing about you hear Moors say honors Noble Juali and we do it and we do it, and you think we're following something that he's doing. This is not about following. This is about mindset. If your mindset is follower, then you're going to be like people waiting for some consul or some consulate to do something for them instead of them doing it for their goddamn self. You're waiting for somebody to do something for you. So these people in that people got landlords or whatever, and then doors hanging off the thing. All you need is a screw that put a screw in, and then you have no problem. These people have doors hanging for 10 years, doors hanging. Oh, this guy's a slumlord because he didn't fix the door hanging. Well, how about you just screw in the goddamn thing? What the hell are you waiting for? What you need somebody to screw that in for you for? Need somebody to do that? Now that's what you need. Somebody to screw that in. So you're gonna stay in darkness because you waiting for the guy to change the light bulb. Tripping. It's not about some fellowship. It's not about some following something. It's not about having some consul or consulate to have relations with a European for you. The hell are you talking about? We already told you about the con. But they're so consulate that they're getting contacts from Toronto where they're not at. They're not here. Contacts are reaching out to them. They're telling people, well, we're the authority in Canaanland or whatever. These people just came yesterday. How are they some authority out here when they just came yesterday? On whose authority are they the authority? Because they came yesterday. As soon as you have a mindset of this is follow something or go join something, right? Don't you see people are jacking energy? Great Seal been sealing stuff for years. For years. Great Seal sealing stuff. They tell me all these people with Great Seal, their stuff is void now because there's some consul or whatever? No. No way. Impossible. Impossible. And don't get it twisted too, because we're not talking about some Great Seal Clock of Destiny BS, because the Moor sent me this one, which is crazy. These are the Moors. These are the Moors. These are the Moors that are playing around with your stuff. Same thing, same like how we told you certain people, we went and bought certain people's package to show you that they're a fraud. Right? So this is why I love Moors. I love Moors who study. It's just amazing. I just love Moors who study. Because when you study, you're not going to get played. You're going to see all these people's folly. You see these people's folly so fast. So when we're talking about certain people's, paperwork that they're selling you back into slavery. So more goes on clockofdestiny.com because you seen something in the chat. Somebody said something, check this or some BS, trying to prove that they got some authority. So you go check their BS or whatever, see where they're getting their authority from. Their authority is coming from SEDM. This is supposed to be Clock of Destiny, CM Bay, who file stuff in the Library of Congress so Moors don't have to go to no goddamn European to do anything. And then these people are going to some SEDM. Oh, what's that? Okay, hold on a second. Let's just. Right. What do you mean? Remember, SEDM from the lame, not that way, Hulk smash. Sovereignty, Education, and Defense Ministry. These people not playing with you? You really think that they're not playing with you? We're not doing this for views. We're not doing this for likes and shares or whatever. It would be good if you do, but this is for people who are waking up and they're ready to get out their sleep. There's not people who want to be followers, right? If the follower people, you want to be follower, there's Consular Court right over there. There's Moorish, whoever is out there. You go be followers of those people if you don't want to do for self. So we don't use followers. We don't need you people if you want to follow. If you want to follow, go do the following stuff. Right? And stay over there too when you go over there. Don't you go playing in and out, whatever. This is like the club. Soon when you get in, doors closed, no in and outs. Not be active and then 5 years, I don't want to do this no more because these Moors or whatever. When it's your dumb ass, it's your lazy ass that hasn't done anything in the 5 years. Why you're complaining about how come nothing's done? Because what did you do? This is the question. How come the Moors don't have a hospital? You build it yet? You didn't build it? Oh, you're talking BS. How about stop talking BS and build a hospital? Well, I can't. Okay, so if you can't, shut the hell up and find something that you can do. Shut the hell up. Go do something and assist the Moors in something happening for Moors. Everybody else has something happening for them. Yeah, you don't think it's time for Moors to have something? You still talking BS? Like I said, people talk all the crap or whatever like that. We got a temple right now. We have a building that we're functioning out of. Now we're sustaining ourselves because the stuff that we sell in there, which is Moorish stuff, classes that we do there, which is Moorish, the temple that we have, and the people who say that they're members of that sustain that. So we're doing for ourselves. We're not going out to these Europeans to go get something from them for us to have something. So you can stop the BS. And we've been repping that for 10 years out here. Doing for ourselves. Because we've known a long time ago where all we got. Onyx told us that. All we got is us. Ain't nobody we could trust. Who you trusting other than your own right now? You got people selling you fake lettuce and all that stuff you talking about. You trust somebody? Not your own? Oh yeah, because your own are a bunch of sellouts. Yeah, that's why we ride with Moors who are active, who have sincerity and honor, and they're righteous. So we have to worry about getting played or not getting played. Because as soon as we get played, we already know a shimitar for those people. It's not even, we're not playing the passing stuff. You get passes because of whatever. You don't get no passes if you're a sellout. That's why all these people getting outed. All of them. And we're honoring the real. Go back to honoring who should be honored. Stop honoring all these clowns. Haven't done anything for you. When's the last time you made some type of donation to a Moor? When's the last time the Moors got their strap and have their ride, gas getting hit up? Whoever else wants some finance, ain't no problem. When it comes to Moors, how much of your finances go into Moors? It's not about following. It's about being what you know you're supposed to be. Stop pussyfooting around, waiting for something to happen, waiting for the thing to happen for you to say, oh yeah, now we're going to start doing stuff. What the hell are you talking about? What are you waiting for? Like you said, we've done moved 3 times out here, different places. What do you mean? Before that, we had places that we were moving from or whatever, because people don't get it. They want the unity and they want the whatever and they want it, but everybody's waiting for it to happen and not doing it so it happens. And then want to debate something. What are you debating? You guys not doing jack anyways. The Holy Quran proclaimed that Noble Drew Ali was a prophet ordained by Allah to carry the message of Islam to the people of African descent in America, right? Not the people of slave descent. I never made the mistake and said that Noble Drew Ali said the African slaves or whatever like that. Because BS. If we're of African descent, we were also in America before some Europeans. If we say we're of African descent. Because we're of African descent doesn't mean some slave history. Membership in Ali's Moorish Science Temple was restricted to Asiatics only, by which he meant any person who is non-Caucasian. Moorish Americans, however, are overwhelmingly comprised of Black people. Huh? Moorish Americans, however, were overwhelmingly comprised of Black people. So he's telling you Black people are Moorish Americans, actually. That you need to stop playing. Remember, Brother Clifton, he got PhD and stuff like that, so he knows what's up. He knows what's up. This is not a figment of his imagination if he's writing about it. Organizational comparisons between Moorish Science Temple and Nation of Islam. Nationality: Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Americans. Nation of Islam, Asiatic Black. Fraud. Selling you out. Because Nation of Islam, like he said earlier, came out of Moorish Science Temple. So how is their nationality Asiatic Black when they were told, taught, presented with Moorish American as their identity. Right, selling you out. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad was a prophet. He wasn't the messenger only. Elijah Muhammad was the prophet, huh? Elijah Muhammad wasn't the messenger? Religion, Islam. Nation of Islam, Islam. More Science Temple, land, no desire for a separate state, psychological separation through Moorish status. Nation of Islam, separate state. And today, they still don't have a separate state. Why? Because they're in their own land. What separate state are you talking about? Why would you have a separate state when you're the state? They know that this is Morocco. Remember, Nation of Islam comes out of Moorish Science Temple. Don't worry about these people in the congregation that's clapping for people at the podium in the Mosque Miriam or whatever. The people on the stage at the podium, trust me, they know. Don't worry about these people down here who don't know anything. The low road people. Don't mind them. Because they're going to stay sheep as long as that guy at the podium. Why? Because guy at the podium makes sure that these people play follower. That's why all the Nation of Islam, they can't say, hey, yeah, how come you're not telling us about whatever like that? Because they've been indoctrinated. That they got it going on because that's how they've been. No. You've been X for years. And there's no way you've been studying as hard as you're studying and these people still calling you X and you're sitting there with an X, knowing damn well that there's people who came after you into this, that they already got their holy name. But they're on the stage though. Yeah, you're in the congregation playing because you don't want to stand up and stop being a follower. It ain't no thing about Moors not desiring for a separate state. It ain't nothing to desire for. We're in our own land. The psychological separation through Moorish status means that we're part of a nation. So you don't have jurisdiction. That psychological is now manifest now. We're not just talking the psychological anymore now. Once you say that you're a Moor. Once you get past the hoopla and you attach the L or Bay and you start being yourself, we're out the psychological thing. Now we're dealing with manifest now. Now we're dealing with operative, not speculative anymore. We're not dealing with divine now. Now we're dealing with national and divine together. Because you cracked the code to unlock the ancient formulas and forma within you, which is who you are, because you already know where the ancestors come again. Or you wouldn't even be on this info. You know, everybody's cut from this cloth to be Els, Bays, Days, As, and Alis. This is a specific jurisdiction for a specific kind of energy. We had people who were master teachers that were on this and said, forget that, I'm going to go back to being the whatever. And they're still calling themselves master when they couldn't even say that they're Moors? The hell out of here. What master is that? All the masters we know, they talk about nationality, they talked about Moors, they talk about us being Moors, they wrote books about us being Moors. They weren't hiding it. But everybody today is debating it. And everybody knows that it came out of us. And again, organizational comparisons. Moorish Science Temple, place of worship, temple. Nation of Islam, mosque. The mosque. When you guys were Temple of Islam before you were Nation of Islam. What do you mean you're a mosque? How are you a mosque when you were originally called a temple? Oh yeah, because you have to play the Quran BS because you wanted to make fake prophets, starting with Fard. Started with Fard being the reincarnation of Noble Drew Ali. Starting there. Fard being the reincarnation of Noble Drew Ali. And Fard doing that. Because everybody sold out. Moorish Science Temple, heaven in the mind, Nation of Islam on earth. Moorish Science Temple, names, Bay El, Nation of Islam, X. Replace slave name because real name unknown. Oh yeah, they know real name. It's Bay and El, Al, Day, and Ali. What do you mean you don't know what the real name is? You're going to call yourself X. When they came out of Moorish Science Temple, that told you that you're L's and Bays. So you're L's and Bays and Days and Al's and Ali's. A guy who was a L and then another one who was a Bay. Stop calling yourself L's and Bays, telling you that your name is X. You're finding out now in 2018 that these people straight lied to you. And then nothing? You're not questioning nothing. So you're just good with the X. Even though Captain Joseph X goes by Yusuf Bey now. You're not going to question why Joseph X got his holy name, but he didn't just get rid of the X. He had Bey on it. But he was Nation of Islam though. All Nation of Islam allow him to have Bey, and you're 55X. Jeffrey 55X. And you think these people aren't playing you? When all the people who are on the podium, they got holy name? And then they're restricting holy name to after you get to that level you can get it? People are playing you. That's called Adept Chamber of the Moorish Science Temple. That's what that's called. Because people are playing you. All that stuff from the Belly movie, when DMX was going to go in the room and murder him or whatever like that, and then people came in and all that stuff, whatever. Don't worry, I got this and all that. The secret council of the heads, all the podium people. Moorish Science Temple, dress, men, fez, worn during official functions. Right, see how they're playing the club game with you? I remember this is after Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali took this to the hedges and the highways. And we're pretty sure he was fez up or turban up. Men, fez worn during official functions. Beards and mustaches allowed. Suit and tie optional. Women, turbans optional. No makeup, pants, long dresses to shoe tops. Moorish Science Temple, citizenship, United States of America, Nation of Islam, Nation of Islam. What? These people's citizenship is not Nation of Islam. Why are they lying? Their citizenship is Nation of Islam? If their citizenship is Nation of Islam, then we need to see some Nation of Islam nationality cards around here. Just to see exactly, just to check. Just so we're sure, because that's crazy that their citizenship is Nation of Islam. That is some stuff I never heard. That their citizenship is Nation of Islam. Rituals and practices. When attending services in the temple, men and women are segregated. At all times, male members wear a red fez with a black tassel. Men are allowed to wear beards, and when not attending official functions, they may dress casually. The Fruits of Islam uniform in the Nation of Islam are fashioned after the Moorish Americans. The Fruit of Islam's uniforms in the Nation of Islam are fashioned after the Moorish Americans. The dress Fard Muhammad originally gave male members of the Fruits of Islam is the same dress Drew Ali's people had. Exactly, the muftis. Give names of what? Give names of who? We're telling you about the heads. Forget these minions. We're telling you the heads, just like we told people. Seti's teacher is Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben said we're Moors. FOH, with any BS that anybody who said Dr. Ben is their teacher is talking about Moors. Anybody. Go debate your master teacher who called us Moors. We're not talking about minions. As I said, Captain Joseph X. Everybody knows him. He's Bay now. He's not Joseph X anymore. Moorish American marriages are monogamous and divorce is rarely permitted. In most cases, the husband is the only source of financial support and women are expected to be housewives. Women wear pants or long dresses and no makeup. A turban is worn only with long dresses. It is not considered appropriate to wear pants with the turban. Where he's getting all that from. On Fridays, women must wear long white dresses which fall below the knee when seated. On Sunday and Wednesday night meetings, they are free to dress as they please, but they should never wear revealing clothes. Sunday school is conducted for children from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Moorish Americans pray 3 times daily at sunrise, noon, and sunset. That's news. When praying, members stand facing east toward Mecca. Face east, toward anything but east. They use two words for greeting, peace and Islam, with the right hand raised and palm out. Moorish Americans attach special significance to their dress, especially the fez and turban. They believe the fez is the first headdress worn by man and the turban was the first headdress worn by women. The fez and turban symbolize that knowledge is embedded within them, and these wraps protect the wearer. Moorish Americans also adhere to strict vegetarian diet. No meat or eggs are to be eaten, but fish and vegetables are prescribed. Sports and games, attendance at motion pictures and secular dancing is also discouraged. Smoking, drinking liquor, straightening the hair, and using cosmetics are forbidden. Drew Ali created a Moorish flag, which is red with a green 5-point star in the center. The points on the star represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The Moorish flag is usually next to the American flag in all meetings. Moorish Americans are loyal citizens of the United States and pledge allegiance to its flag. Well, if it pledges allegiance to its flag, it's not going to be some stars and stripes, because stars and stripes not flag. If stars and stripes is not a flag, then they're not pledging allegiance to some United States. And they're not loyal citizens of some United States. And Noble Drew Ali in no way created a flag that's been around before he was around. The temple is the main organization unit of the Moorish science movement. The national headquarters, located in Chicago, originally had a membership of 10,000. Drew Ali established temples in Detroit, Harlem, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Kansas City, West Virginia, Brooklyn, Richmond, Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia. Overall membership was approximately 30,000. Now we know that's some BS because Anur Majid, remember, told us that Fard Muhammad and the Nation of Islam stole 120,000 members from the Moorish Science Temple after Noble Drew Ali transition. Financial support for the organization is derived from dues collected at the various temples and numerous businesses. The various temples and numerous businesses. Numerous businesses. Numerous businesses. Leaders of the temples are called grand sheikhs. Beneath the sheikhs are ministers, elders, and stewards. Rank and file members are referred to as brothers and sisters. All Moorish Americans must attach the term El or Bey to their names. To become a member of the Moorish Science Temple, individuals must affirm their desire to follow Noble Drew Ali and pay an initiation fee of $1. New members are given a free national name and a nationality card. Moorish Americans refer to the El or Bey as their free national name. The national name represents heritage, which allows you to be a citizen in the international affairs. In the affairs of nation, those people not of a nation receive no consideration. Moorish Americans are required to carry a nationality card. Moorish Americans believed the sight of the nationality card would stop individuals and institutional oppression by white Americans. Members of the Moorish Science Temple began accosting the white enemy on the streets, showing their membership card and buttons, and proclaiming in the name of their prophet Noble Drew Ali that they had been freed of European domination. Soon after these altercations, Drew Ali ordered his followers to stop flashing your cards at Europeans. Noble Drew Ali reincarnated. In 1929, Drew Ali began to designate more power to his subordinates. His subordinates began to exploit the members by selling herbs, magic charms, and literature of the movement to the extent that some of them became wealthy. Drew Ali attempted to stop this dishonest practice and became a pawn in the struggle for power. One of his sheiks, a former butler of philanthropist Julius Rosenwald, challenged Drew Ali's leadership. His name was Claude Green. Current members of the Moorish Science Temple advocate that Sheikh Claude Green was a minor character in the splintering of the organization. Noble Drew Ali was reputed to have taught 4 men and instructed them to carry out his mission. Elijah Muhammad was one of them. Daddy Grace, Father Divine, and Carlos Cookman. None of them did what Drew Ali asked them to. All they wanted was that gold for themselves. During the conflict between the factions, Claude Green was shot to death in his office at the Unity Club. Drew Ali was not in Chicago at the time. Nevertheless, he was arrested and charged with the murder. Drew Ali was released on bond and died a few weeks later. All theories of his death point to 2 circumstances. He either died from injuries inflicted by police during his imprisonment or was killed by followers loyal to Sheikh Claude Green. The story of Noble Drew Ali's death is told differently by members of the Moorish Science Temple. George Bay, a Moorish American for 25 years and minister of Temple 7 in Richmond, Virginia, said his health went bad on him. As far as I know, he died a natural death. Now, natural is not tuberculosis, like it said on the death certificate. And then don't forget, he had the herbs and the compound and the whatever that could cure all the stuff that they said he died of in the death certificate. So I don't know anything about he died a natural death and all that. I know what George Bay is talking about. Because as we know, common sense was made before book sense. So common sense says that these people that were around him knew what was going on. And like Noble Drew Ali said, they were jealous of the fame and nobility. They were jealous of the fame and nobility, which is a shame, because they shouldn't be jealous. But here's some references for you. Black Gods of the Metropolis, Arthur F. Fawcett, Faucet. Black Nationalism, A Search for Identity in America. Black Nationalism, A Search for Identity in America by Isen Udom, Essien Udom. Sam Bay interview, Moorish Science Temple of America, Richmond, Virginia, August 4th, 1976. Minister George Bay interview, Moorish Science Temple of America, Richmond, Virginia, August 4th, 1976. Eric C. Lincoln, The Black Muslims in America. Eric C. Lincoln, The Black Muslims in America. They Seek a City. They Seek a City. Arna Bontemps, Bontemps, Arna Bontemps, and Jack Conroy. The Rediscovery of Black Nationalism, Theodore Draper. The Rediscovery of Black Nationalism, Theodore Draper. Interview with Imam D. Wallace, July 25th, 1979. There's your references. Well, first, we have to go to our friend, Anur Majid, because he had an interesting perspective as well, relative to this Noble Ali connection. We are all Moors, Anur Majid. Islam was everywhere in the Black nationalist movement. The Jamaican-born Marcus Garvey, a convert to Catholicism and founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, was influenced by Dous Muhammad Ali, the Sudanese Egyptian author of In the Land of the Pharaohs, which made the case for Islam on a basis of self-government in the 19th century Egypt. Garvey's followers, particularly writers of the Negro world, and Garvey himself, made analogies between the struggles of Muslims in Africa against European colonialist powers and their own struggle for equality in the United States, as well as between Garvey's mission and that of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. At one point, Garvey compared work and that his followers to the Prophet. As Muhammad did in the religious world, he said, so in the political arena, we have had men who have paid their price for leading the people toward the great light of liberty. In 1923, Garveyite columnist of the Negro World gave a speech in Boston titled Islam and the Redemption of Africa. Islam and the identification with Moors was especially clear in the case of the Moorish Science Temple of America, established by the enigmatic American Muslim Noble Drew Ali during the epoch of the Great Migration of blacks from the South to the North and the Midwest between 1913 and 1930. Blacks in his ideology were from Amexem instead of Africa, and they were part of the galaxy of Asiatic races extending from Asia to Native and Hispanic America, and all these races were Muslim. Of course, Drew Ali's brand of Islam was bound to be attacked by Orthodox and Sunni Muslims, as happened when the Al-Azhar educated Sudanese Sati Majid Muhammad, S-A-T-T-I-M-A-J-I-D, Muhammad, sued Drew Ali in court for defaming Islam and agitating for the issuing of 3 fatwas against him in Egypt and Sudan. The fatwas were issued around 1930 after Drew Ali's death. As Richard Brent Turner explains, echoing Clifton Marsh's observation, naming was crucial for Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali chose to connect his movement to Morocco, connecting it to the first African Muslim slaves in America, Abd al-Rahman Ibrahima, the extraordinary Moorish prince from Fouta Djallon that used a pretended connection to Morocco to gain his freedom. If this strategy for liberation worked in the 19th century, Drew Ali probably reasoned that it might also work for Black people in the 20th century. No doubt these Moors were problematic, as is evident in one Detroit police officer's complaint. "Those fellows," he cried out, "what a terrible gang, thieves and cutthroats. Wouldn't answer anything, wouldn't sit down when you told them, wouldn't stand up when you told them, pretending they didn't understand you, that they were Moors from Morocco. They never saw Morocco. These Moors never saw anything before they came to Detroit except Florida and Alabama." And interestingly enough, these Moors never saw anything before they came to Detroit except Florida, which, the land of flowers, is a Moorish port itself, and Alabama, which Al is Moorish and ties directly to, again, this Moorish Barbary America relationship. Despite rivalries, fighting, and harassment by the FBI during World War II because of their kinship with the Asiatic and dark races, Muslims were suspected of being allies of Japanese and therefore a national security threat. Drew Ali and his followers preserved and survived. So convincing were they of their Moroccan heritage, and so persistent were they in getting such recognition, that in 1986, the Moroccan ambassador to the United States acknowledged the movement's special relationship with Morocco. So convincing were they, the Moorish Americans, of their Moroccan heritage, and so persistent were they in getting such recognition, that in 1986, the Moroccan ambassador to the United States acknowledged the movement's special relationship with Morocco. Even on the eve of Noble Drew Ali's death in 1929, W.D. Fard Muhammad, probably born to a man from East India, appeared in Chicago after having entered the United States via Canada in 1913, illegally, with an anglicized name, and having joined the Theosophical Society in San Francisco, Garvey's UNIA, and once in Chicago, the Moorish Science Temple, while he attended the Ahmadiyya Mosque on the city's south side. When Fard Muhammad moved to Detroit in 1930, with its estimated 120,000 black people to peddle exotic clothes and such, Noble Drew Ali had passed away, and Fard Muhammad, soon preaching to Drew Ali's working class customers, established a movement of Muslims as opposed to Drew Ali's Muslims. Officially, the Lost Foundation of Islam, stressing consumer discipline, education, strict dietary laws, and pride in one's origins, was founded July 4th, 1930. But it would be Elijah Poole from Georgia, down on his luck in the cold, forbidding North, who would designate the mysterious Fard as God incarnate after meeting him in 1931. See the con. The following year, Fard Muhammad was arrested on strange charges pertaining to a follower's alleged sacrifice of another man. Then again in 1933 for disturbing the peace. In June 1934, Fard left as abruptly as he had appeared in 1929, leaving behind Elijah Poole to lead a fractious movement caught up in internecine conflict and division. Elijah Muhammad began an odyssey south using the assumed names of Muhammad Rasul and Ghulam Bogans, the latter being the name under which he was arrested and jailed in 1934 in Washington, D.C., of failing to register for the draft. When he was released from prison in August 46, he took the reins of his organization and turned it into a successful business enterprise, uplifting the status of his working class followers considerably and attracting middle class African Americans. And so they're gone from being anything Moorish. By 1960, a man called the Messenger was firmly in control of an organization whose members carried identity cards similar to those issued by Moorish Science Temple. Like that of mostly minority movements, the Nation of Islam's theology was centered on self-affirmation and reversing the dehumanizing regime of oppressing that Black Muslims had been subjected to for hundreds of years. If the Moors of Moorish science were Moabites or Canaanites from Morocco who founded Mecca, the nation's ancestors, the lost tribe of Sabaz creatures of the black god called Allah, were directly from Mecca. Blacks were thus the norm, whereas the blue-eyed devils or white Caucasians were invented by a big-head scientist called Yaqub, a genius who was relocated from Mecca to the island of Pilan or Patmos of the Aegean, where after 600-year experiment, the white race emerged to become gods of this world and wreak havoc on the black races. The narrative of racial differences was a part of a long African-American speculation and conversation about the nature of whites, and that is perhaps best exemplified in David Walker's appeal to the colored citizens of the world. In Walker's account, whites are essentialized as natural enemies, perhaps because of their grim record. The whites have always been unjust, jealous, unmerciful, avaricious, and bloodthirsty set of beings, always seeking after power and authority. We view them all over the Confederacy of Greece, where they were first known to be anything in consequence of education. We see them there cutting each other's throats, trying to subject each other to wretchedness and misery, to effect which they used all kinds of deceitful, unfair, unmerciful means. We view them next in Rome, where the spirit of tyranny and deceit raged still higher. We view them in Gaul, Spain, and in Britain. In fine, we view them all over Europe, together with what were scattered about in Asia and Africa as heathens, and we see them acting more like the devils than the accountable men. But some may ask, did not the blacks of Africa and the mulattoes of Asia go on in the same way as did the whites of Europe? I answer no. They were never half as voracious, deceitful, and unmerciful as the whites according to their knowledge. Anur Majid. Anur Majid. We are all Moors. Great read. Great read. And we just wanted to throw out this reference point. The great works of Brother Abdullah El Talib Mosi Bey. Page 45 or 44. The historical political origin of the Moorish Imperial Divan adopted by the ancient Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine. Etymology of Divan. Divan is a Persian loan word in Arabic. Zoroastrian Middle Persian spellings are DPYWN and DYWN. The Middle Persian form is a derivative of Old Persian DIPI. Inscription document, the Old Persian form is derived from Akkadian Tupu, T-U-P-P-U, and ultimately from Sumerian. Divan was borrowed into Armenian after the Middle Persian shift of post-vocalic. Persian, Dabir, scribe. Middle Persian, Dabir, from Dipivar. Many thanks should be given to few European Masons who have preserved Moorish history, culture, and philosophy within their secret society orders. Now it is time for the blood royals, nobles, and true sovereign Moors of Morocco to declare their Moorish nationality and reclaim their Moorish birthright, inherited lands, their Moorish national sovereignty, and Moorish federal government. The name America is linguistically and phonologically connected to the name Morocco. Again, the name America is linguistically and phonologically connected to the name Morocco. Today, the general public worldwide pronounces the name Morocco as America. Today, the general public worldwide pronounces the name Morocco as America. The great Masonic secret, mum's the word. The word shrine is derived from the Latin word scrinium, meaning box or bookcase. It is a container or receptacle for sacred relics. Indeed, Moors have had such a great impact on civilization that Moorish history, Moorish heritage, Moorish culture, and Moorish philosophy command attention and respect. Exposing the history of the extensive diplomatic relations between the Moroccan Empire and the European powers will reveal to the public the true political reasons why the European Masons have created a shrine to honor the Moors. Divan, D-I-V-A-N, is derived from the Persian Diwan, D-I-W-A-N, and it is the Moroccan Imperial Council. Oh, Moroccan Imperial Council. Supreme Grand Moroccan Imperial. Supreme Grand Moroccan Imperial. Sounds like one has to do with a club and one has to do with a nation. The divan, how come nobody brings up the divan? Everybody wants to bring up consular and councils and bring up the divan. Oh yeah, Brother Abdullah brought divan. Oh my gosh, he brought divan. Are we gonna go chase after him because he brought up divan? We're gonna go be part of the divan now because they started a divan. And Brother Abdullah is the head of the divan, so now we're gonna go be the divan because he started the divan for us because his book said the Moors is the Imperial Council for Morocco is the divan. The divan is a chamber, cabinet, or council of high-ranking Moorish government officials who serve as a cabinet of advisors to the emperor. The Grand Vizier is the head of the divan. The title of Grand Vizier can be compared to the title Prime Minister. A Wazir is a high-ranking Moorish official. Wazirs can be compared to minister or secretary, as a minister of foreign affairs or secretary of defense. An emperor is the supreme or sovereign ruler of an empire. Sultan is another title for emperor. Sultan is derived from sulta, meaning authority or power. The United States European occupational and colonial power, misrepresented as the government, has preserved the Moorish divan as it functions the Moorish government. Divan replaced by the word department. Divan replaced by the word department. The United States European occupational and colonial power functions the Moorish divan under the term presidential cabinet. Divan substituted with the term presidential cabinet. The Grand Wazir is the head of the divan. The Grand Wazir is the most powerful member of the Sultan's divan cabinet. The Grand Divan largely oversees all the executive functions of the Moorish government. The United States European occupational and colonial power replaced the Moorish title Grand Vizier with the title President. Today, the President functions as the head of the Moorish Divan. Other body politics use the term Prime Minister as a substitute for the Moorish title Grand Vizier. Other Moorish divan departments under the jurisdictional power of the United States European occupational and colonial power. Justice Department, Education Department, Interior Department, Agriculture Department, Commerce Department, Health and Human Services Department, Labor Department, Energy Department, Transportation Department, Veterans Affairs Department, Homeland Security Department, Housing and Urban Development. The United States European occupational and colonial power substituted the Moorish title Grand Vizier with the word President. The United States European occupational and colonial power replaced the Moorish title Vizier with the word Secretary. There's just so much out there. There's just so much out there. The info doesn't stop. I might as well go here. Past imperial potentates. The European Masons proudly donned the Moorish fez as a badge of honor for conquering the Moroccan Moors in their land. Now the European Masons wear the Moorish fez to symbolize their claim of Moorish national sovereign authority, of which they exercise in a substitute and temporary capacity. And again, this is just so you know that these people are dressing up, parading around with Moors, have Bahia on their fez and Morocco, Arabia, Kem, Nubia, Osiris, Jebel. They have all these names on their fez in order to honor the Moors. And then our people are pretending like it's not an official status to claim that we're Moors. It is very official. Very official. And since we got Black History Month coming up, we'll just read the questions raised by Brother Abdullah doing his long research. Because, you know, when you start researching a lot, you're gonna have questions. These are interesting. The following thought-provoking questions are designed to be a guide map to further research. The tribute treaties between the Moroccan Empire and the European powers, France, Netherlands, Dutch, and England, show that the Moroccan Empire was a dominant political, economic, and military power during the 1600s and the 1700s. Important reference point, date. So you have the timeline. Because without the timeline, you're probably going to be confused and not know what's going on. You're probably going to be confused and not know what's going on. Why did the Europeans cover up the Moroccan Empire's political dominance, the extensive diplomatic relations and wars with Portugal, Spain, France, Netherlands, and England during the 1500s, 1600s, and 1700s, the period in which these countries have claimed to have transported a combined 10 million Africans from the continent of Africa to North America, South America, and Central America, including the adjoining islands. Right? Why? Why? Why did they cover up the Moroccan Empire's dominance over Europeans while at the same time pushing a claim that they transported 10 million people to over here. Next question. How could Portugal, Spain, France, Netherlands, and England all have established commercial investments in ports in North Africa along the Mediterranean Sea during the same time they were establishing European colonies in the America, South America, Central America, including the adjoining islands, and have transported millions of Africans from the continent of Africa to North America, South America, and Central America, including the adjoining islands, have paid the Moroccan Empire annual tributes and gifts to have their European ships be seized by Moors, have their European merchants be captured by Moors, and be held for hefty ransom. How is it that you establish a commercial investment of taking people from one place to another place, but at the same time, they had to pay tribute and their ships were being seized by the Moors? And they had to pay ransoms and all that stuff. How you have a commercial trade running bountiful if you can't even get in the water to trade your stuff? Lying. Why did the European engage in a vast archaeological cover-up and present false images that misrepresent the facial features of the native, indigenous, and aboriginal Moors of North America, South America, and Central America, including the adjoining islands, as having narrow noses and thin lips, burying their distinctive and clearly recognizable features of broad noses and thick lips? Why would there be an archaeological cover-up? An archaeological cover-up? Why are they covering up archaeology? Why did the European occupiers of Moorish land cover up the vast archaeological evidence of pyramids, astronomical observatories, underground cities, copper mines, stone heads, pottery, figurines, jewelry made of copper, gold, silver, and jade that proves the ancient existence of a vast and great civilization built with the high level knowledge of astronomy, arithmetic, geometry, spherical trigonometry, calculus, music, alchemy, chemistry, physics, botany, geology, etc. Why would they cover up all this stuff that they found here when they started doing their, discovering of the New World? How come when they discovered the New World, they found stuff and said, we can't let this stuff get out? Playing around. They'll stay playing around as much as they want to. They're gonna stay playing. As long as the people stay dumb, they're playing. Why did the European colonial occupiers of Moorish land teach that the native, indigenous, aboriginal, and other peoples of North America, South America, and Central America, including the adjoining islands, lived in teepees which falsely conveys the idea of a nomadic people with no civilization, with no knowledge of building, with no knowledge of astronomy, geometry, and spherical trigonometry, and no existence of a permanent government and order. What are they playing? What you never learned in your history class. Have you ever challenged what you learned in your history class? I guess you did not have the basis to analyze the history that was being spoon-fed to you. The following questions are eye-openers. Were you ever taught in your history class that the Moors captured Europeans, Portuguese, Spaniards, French, Dutch, English, Germans, Irish, and Scottish and held them in slavery? Were you ever taught in your history classes that Europeans paid hefty ransoms to the Moors for the release of European merchants and sailors? Were you ever taught in your history class that European powers, Portugal, Spain, France, Netherlands, Great Britain, and Germany paid annual tributes to the Moroccan Empire to pass unmolested on the high seas? Were you ever taught in your history class that the European powers were at war with the Moroccan Empire between the 1500s and the 1800s, during the period of time in which the European powers were colonizing the Americas and establishing trading posts and colonies? Excellent read, Brother Abdullah El Talib Mozi Bey. Moors and Masonry. Who are these imposters? And you can go to moorishcivilletter.net, moorishcivilletter.net, and you can contact him 215-300-5471. And do yourself a favor. Buy something. Support, send a donation, something. Don't just be a taker. Don't just be a taker. Please don't just be a taker. I just want to put it out again. The Moorish Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 2007. I didn't get the scan done yet. I'll be trying to work on that tomorrow. And once it's sent out, it'll be uploaded to nomoredaily.com. We, the undersigned Moors, find it necessary to enact a treaty of peace and friendship among ourselves in order to foster unity among ourselves. Since 1929, there has been a proliferation of many Moorish individuals, groups, bodies, organizations, nations, etc. Although we may not agree on every topic and issue, we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable. We all agree that we must practice our 5 principles among ourselves as handed to us by our ancestors and given to us by our prophet Noble Jew Ali, namely love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. How can we promote and teach these principles to the world if we do not practice it amongst ourselves? If our ancestors were able to enter into treaties of peace and friendship with Europeans, we should definitely be able to enter into a treaty of peace and friendship amongst ourselves, the Moors. The treaty is very simple so that it can be agreeable to all. If we are to practice the 5 principles among ourselves, then we should all be able to agree to the following. We agreed to practice love among ourselves. We agreed to practice truth among ourselves. We agreed to practice peace among ourselves. We agreed to practice freedom among ourselves. We agreed to practice justice among ourselves. We agree not to kill or harm one another in any way. We agree not to slander one another. We agree not to backbite one another. We agree to work in cooperation with one another. We agree to build institutions that will foster and promote unity with one another. We agree to be industrious in building a social and economic base for our nation. We agree that united we stand. We agree that united we stand and divided we fall. United we stand, but divided we fall. United we stand, divided we fall. And don't tell me any BS about saying, well, because you talk about dirty more, then you're for a division. No, good try though. Good try. We don't do sellouts. That's pretty much what's up. We don't do sellouts. All right? That easy. We don't do sellouts. You can't do sellouts. Not time for them, boy. Not time, in my Lanre voice. We do not have time to play around with these people. But you already know how it goes. We just got to stay steadfast on what we're supposed to be doing. Don't worry about these people. Let's do what we're supposed to do as Moors. Don't forget, tonight, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Standard Time. Blog Talk Radio, MHHS, Eyes Wide Open. Eyes wide open. Make sure you be there with your eyes wide open, ready to learn something. Call-in number for those who want to call in, 319-527-6751. 319-527-6751. 425-569-5201. 425-569-5201. And 347-945-5899. 347-945-5899. Islam to all the Moors, wherever you are. Peace and love to you. You already know the theme. Keep studying. Only time the eyes close is when the tassels get caught in underneath your eyelid. So don't turn your head too fast, Moors. Be careful out there. Be careful out there. It's dangerous. Tassels attacking people. Tassels attacking Moors. Peace and love to all the Moors. Don't forget, we're going Dr. Blair until the 31st. So, you know, keep putting that energy out in the ethers. Keep playing those. Keep playing those. Keep playing those. Keep playing those. Gotta do it. Got to. right? You got to do it. And remember, for people who might be near the jurisdiction, don't forget as well, let's find this thing. Don't forget, we're going on the campaign again. Debunking Black history, correcting Black history, Canaanland Moors at Ottawa University, February 16th, 2019. Don't forget, go to moorishmindset.org if you have any questions. moorishmindset.org. Saturday, February 16th, 1 p.m. Brother Kudro L., Brother Sheldon L., lecturing at the Morissette Library Building, room 218, Ottawa University. Right? Somebody decided to make use of the flyer. Use the Moors for Black History Month. And we're calling these black guys to do stuff. We can do Skypes, we can do over the phone, doesn't matter. You want to learn about something Moors? Get with the Moors. canaanlandguide@gmail.com. Anytime in February, hit us up. We can go live on YouTube. You know, we're not debating. We're about raising our people up who want to learn. So if you want to learn, email canaanlandguide, canaanlandguide @gmail.com. But February 16th, 1 p.m., we're going to be at the Morissette Library Building, Ottawa University. Islam to the Moors out there. Islam to the sponsors. Savannah Afro-Caribbean Grocery. Taste Sweet Specialists. 613-240-5873. Anybody out that way, you want to taste some sweet specialty? Get with some of our sponsors. 613-240-5873. And as well, again, don't forget, moorishmindset.org. Check the site. And don't forget, Savannah Afro-Caribbean Grocery is also sponsoring the event. So peace and love to all Moors. Don't forget, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, MHHS, Blog Talk Radio. Go in there as usual. Peace and love in Islam. Honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Honors to all the master teachers that taught us something, especially taught us not to be some followers. Islam.